Herbert is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a grab.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's the warrior spirit right there, boy.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown.
It's going to be picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Herbert sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Guyton. Caught! Touchdown Chargers!
That's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, both fam of all ages, the boys from TDU proudly bring to you the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast 2023 Opponent Series. What is going on, everyone? It is great to be back in the host chair. Andy here, of course, joined as always by Jack and Alistair. Fellas, God, it's good to see you two both in the studio. How are we?
Loud noises! That was good. Awesome to have you back in the host seat, Andy. It's fantastic.
Thank you both, thank you both. Did have a fun time over in Europe, in case you were all wondering there. No, I'm not new to the show. I've just been away. If you're a new listener, thank you. If you're following us on YouTube, however you listen to your podcasts, thank you. We appreciate your listenership. Give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It is just about our favourite part of the off-season for the three of us. We're getting stuck into the first part of 4 episodes coming at you, analysing the Chargers 2023 opponents. So without any further ado, let's get stuck into the NFC North and take us away, Jack, with Chicago.
All right. Well, if you had listened to the show for a long time, you'll know that I like to get a little bit creative with my introductions to teams. And this is no different. So I have actually penned a poem called Oh, 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 Chicago. And I will read that out and we'll go from there. So, where the cold winter winds blow, where the field and fans are sometimes covered in snow, the Bears of 85 are remembered so, because it's been a long, hard slog for football in the famed city of Chicago. Michael and the Bulls brought fame and fortune on the basketball court. Is Fields the equivalent in this different sport? Will Moore, Claypool, Mooney prove to be Pippen, Kerr and Rodman to defence's thwart? Eberflus and Poles have yet to stamp their Chicagoan passport. However, all is not grim for the dark blue and tangerine. They will continue to grow, develop, and slowly they will begin a path to redeem. Justin has the weapons to use his arm, yet a balance of run-pass will still be the expectant theme. Edmonds commanding in the middle of Williams' scheme means the D will begin to gather steam. Yes, the Bears are one of my favourites in my 2023 season daydreams. But I think playoffs in the NFC North are yet still a pipe dream for this proud, passionate Chicago football team. There we go. A little bit of creativity to start us off. And listeners, in case you can't tell, Jack's on school holidays at the moment.
Too
much time to myself.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was Eminem areas rhyming tangerine there. That was very good.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought of that.
I was hanging out for that, and then bang. Well done.
Is it tangerine or is it orange? I don't know.
It's orange, but
it's orange. Okay, we'll get there. I wanted to start.
Would you, Jack?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to start from just looking at the draft class of the Chicago Bears because there's a clear, I guess, plan that they have drafted absolute monsters. If you look at Darnell Wright in the offensive line, 6'6", 335. Gervin Dexter, defensive line, 6'6", 312. They've gone cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, 6 foot, 214. Zach Pickens, South Carolina, 6'4", 305. These guys have got a plan. They are building. I think it's going to be an interesting game playing them. But I just wanted to start there, and I really like Eberflus. I really like Poles and what they're doing. I think they're going to be a difficult team to beat. I still think we beat them. Alistair, I'll throw to you. Anything that you picked up on from the Chicago Bears that might be interesting to our listeners?
Yeah. It's almost like they're channeling that monsters of the midway of their past, and they know what they like to do in Chicago. They like to run the ball, and they like to play defense. And I think it allows you to kind of pursue that vision based off what we saw from Justin Fields last year, which was essentially being the best running quarterback in the NFL. Justin Fields was an interesting case last year. Like, he still has a lot that he needs to work on. Listeners will know I like to bring a bit of data to the discussion, and I thought there were a couple of interesting data points. Justin Fields' current average time to throw last year, it was 3.45 seconds. Only Malik Willis took longer. So we're talking about a guy who's holding it on forever. He's going to need to improve in that respect, I think, if he's going to make it long-term as a starter. 32.7% of his dropbacks were play action, and you see that a lot from play callers who aren't fully trusting of their quarterback. They use high rates of play action to try and make reads a little easier and get the defense moving the wrong way. And he also caused a lot of his own pressures. PFF assigned him responsibility for 23.9% of the pressures he faced, and only Hurts, Lamar, and Deshaun cause more pressure for themselves. So we're seeing this kind of vibe of a guy who invites pressure, holds it on too long, but you know what? He had 1,100 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. So I don't know. He's exciting. I'd be excited if I was a fan. I think he's just shown enough for Ryan Poles to go, let's fortify the offensive line, get him a megastar, let's trade for a wide receiver. I don't know if I'm convinced he's the long-term solution just yet. He needs to improve his passing. Andy, what say you, my friend?
I tend to agree with you. I think I'll wait for, like, the proof is in the pudding. Sure, he has the dual threat capabilities, running and throwing the ball, but haven't seen the wins, haven't seen the numbers for him in the air. They've done well, the team, to build around him with DJ Moore, as you said, and I really like the drafting of Roshan Johnson, who was Bijan's backup. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think they're quite there yet, and even though I don't really rate the strength of this division, I don't think they make the playoffs as a wild card, and I don't think they win. So, yeah, when have we got them? I think we've got them early on-ish.
Week 8, Sunday night football.
Sunday night football
LA.
at home. So, yeah, I think we get the primetime win over them in this one for me.
I'm actually going to disagree with both of you and say that I think Justin Fields is going to have a breakout year. He hasn't had anything to throw at, absolutely nothing. And when he has had the chance, I think he's got a decent arm. And I did a little bit of research and looking at the numbers as well, Alistair. You'd be surprised that I've done something like that.
No, not at all.
They've clearly gone and found these athletic freaks in the draft. But, you know, with Claypool and Moore on the outside, I have a feeling that there's going to be, rather than Fields trying to hit targets, I think there's going to be a lot of jump balls. Claypool in his 2021 season had 17 contested catches, as when he was with the Steelers, at a contested catch rate of 41.5%. DJ Moore in the 2022 season had 13 with a contested catch rate of 56.5. Now, to give context to those numbers, Mike Williams, as we call him the best contested catch guy in the NFL, his 2021 was his best, and he had 21 at 51.2. So Fields has got two guys there that I don't think he's going to need to anticipate too much. They're going to be burning. They're quite fast as well. Mooney's also quick, and he can probably go into the slot a little more because he played last year 4 out of his 5 best games from the slot. So I think Eberflus's job is going to be to get these guys on routes where they can use these skill sets. I've called this a little bit of a Trojan horse because that's going to be quite a challenge for our DB group. And I think what we've got to force Fields to do is throw the balls outside the numbers, where you can bracket these jump balls with safety and double high coverage, essentially. But 1,100 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns. I think Kendricks is going to have a really big game at middle linebacker, being that QB spy. So just a little bit.
How about Derwin as the QB spy, Jack? I was thinking about that as well. Could you? I know we like to rotate our safeties a lot, which is good. Trick the young quarterback. That kind of stuff works on young quarterbacks. Maybe either or. Kendricks could do the trick too, but I'd be inclined to lean towards Derwin perhaps.
I feel Derwin's probably better off bracketing. I'm not too with Gilman and JT Woods at the top there. I don't know if they're physical. I mean, Claypool and DJ Moore, Claypool especially is a big physical guy. And depending on what the DB room looks like, I think there needs to be some physicality at the top there. And I think that's where DJ Derwin James is going to be. I'd hope to see him.
I have a somewhat controversial opinion on the DJ Moore trade because I know you want to give your guy a weapon because he had nothing last year. I agree with you, Jack, but he's the type of receiver that I see as like not quite a wide receiver one, as just beneath. And to that point, 3 of the 5 seasons he's had in the NFL, his reception percentage is under 60% when targeted. And just to give context to that, he was ranked 40th in the NFL this year of actually catching balls thrown his way. So they're paying him, they've eaten his contract, which is more than $20 million a year. So they're paying him like he's cream of the crop. And a bit like Mike Williams, I think it's bad business to be paying more than $20 million a year to these wide receivers who might not be worth that or might not be elite, especially when you see that defense. And I'm just looking at it now, boys. Look, they were the worst defense in the league last year, basically, at least worst in the run. Can you see them being that much better? Because it looks like a bit of a youth movement going on.
There's a little bit more experience in the middle of the field, which I think that defense really needed. But I think they're pretty thin at cornerback, and it's just a lot of work for Kyler Gordon and Eddie Jackson. As far as against the run, I just don't see that much strength in what they've got in their front seven. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a building team, right? I disagree with the DJ Moore as well. I think Claypool and DJ Moore are relatively young. Mike Williams is older than both. As I said, I think you try and build a team around your quarterback strengths. Justin Fields' strengths is not necessarily throwing. Well, we said that about Lamar Jackson. He can throw. Sometimes these guys are restricted by what they have around them. Listen, the defense will need work, but as I said, I think there's a clear plan. Give Poles and Eberflus another maybe 3 years, and I think this team might be pretty solid.
I guess we'll find out. They could have used that pick 11 on, Quentin Johnson or Jackson Smith in Jigba and pay not much for a rookie wide receiver. They chose to pay 20-something million for DJ Moore. It's going to help him. We'll see if that was the best way to spend that money throughout the year.
Well, when you've got the cap room, why not? I mean, they're not in any cap issues, so roll the dice on DJ Moore. And to DJ Moore's credit, he's finally got a quarterback that's half decent throwing to him. Poor guy's had absolute piss being thrown at him. So I guess we get into predictions. And I've gone the headline of what will be in the morning after that the Chargers play them. And the headline in the morning is warm LA weather puts the Bears to sleep. And I think we win this one by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, I've also gone a touchdown or more. At home, Sunday Night Football, one of many primetime games, and Herbert takes the chocolates.
Meltdown alert, Justin Fields. Hanging onto the ball too long, Mack and Bosa end this man's career.
Wow, end his career?
Nah.
Wow.
That's just...
Save that for Tua, mate.
Yeah.
I don't have to, he'll do it himself. Chargers get it done 28-17 for me.
Nice.
All right, Al, do you want to jump into the Detroit Lions?
Yes, I certainly do. So the Detroit Lions, hard knocks darlings of the NFL last year. They're struggling to find a hard knocks team for this year, I've heard. But the Detroit Lions were a compelling view last year. But it cooled fairly quickly because they lost 5 games in a row to start the season, 1-6. Everyone kind of forgot about them. But then they finished like a steam train, winning 10 of their last 12 games, beating Green Bay at Lambeau Field. Narrowly missed the playoffs, but everyone's very excited about what they could do this year. Now, Dan Campbell gets all the attention, but really I think the star of this team is the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. He's become that next hotshot offensive coordinator. He's got the kind of pelts to the wall where he's got a maths computer science degree. So a bit like Patricia the rocket scientist. Everyone just says, oh, he's a genius. He's doing stuff nobody's ever done before in humanity. But to be honest, what he did last year was fairly incredible because Jared Goff is nobody's idea of an elite quarterback, and he had 29 touchdowns to 7 interceptions last year, and the Lions scored the 5th most points in the league. Pretty impressive. I think if you'd suggested that to anyone before the season, they would have said, "What are you talking about?" But it's now created this, I say, a difficult situation for the Lions. And I'm going to throw this question to you, Andy. When the Lions traded for Stafford, traded Stafford for Goff. They received 2 first-round picks. Now, they used one of those to move up for Jameson Williams last year. And then you would have thought this offseason was the one where you go, all right, let's get our quarterback. Jared Goff has kind of done his job for a year, but, let's go. That's not what they did. Instead, they traded that pick and went back to 12 with Arizona. And what they've done instead is picked up Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. So you've gone Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, but you've still got Jared Goff. They draft Hendon Hooker in the 3rd round to have another quarterback in there, but they're going in. Goff is due $30 million this year. He's due $32 million next year. What do you reckon, Prof? Was this the right move to go with Goff another year, or should have they kind of bit the bullet?
Look. First of all, I'm really bummed that I got on the Lions about 3 years too early, and now they're starting to cook in the pan a bit.
You did.
Looking back going, where were you? Why couldn't you have backed me up right at the start of all of this? I didn't hate the trade back with Arizona because I thought that this year was not the year. If you didn't have pick 1, this year wasn't really the year to take your QB. Jared Goff still owed a lot of money. He played well last year. I was really surprised with what they did. I mean, I don't hate the first 4 picks that they got, but how they sort of went about it, like taking Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, they panicked because Bajan was already gone. Jack Campbell was a surprise to me at 18. Sam Laporta I like, getting him at the top of the 2nd, and Brian Branch, who arguably was picked around the numbers that Jack Campbell was. Real interesting, bold strategy, Carton. I wonder if this will pan out, but it's, I don't know. I guess, like I said, Jared Goff's he's playing good, putting up good numbers. They're 5th best scoring offense in the league. It hasn't kind of worked out with Williams, because he's now suspended another 6 games for Gambler. We'll just see if, they can get it done with Jared Goff. And if it doesn't work, then Dan Campbell's head might roll because it's a bold decision that him and Brad Holmes have made to hang on to Goff.
I like it. I mean, remember, Goff.
Mr. Contrarian today. Jack's just
Goff,
you guys disagree, you idiots. Yeah.
No. I think Goff. Remember, Goff was a top 2 quarterback back in the day. You know, and remember that McVay tried to get it done at LA. He probably Goff didn't have the raw talent that someone like a Stafford or experience that Stafford has. I don't see any issue with Jared Goff if you've got an absolute numbers guy on the sideline just going, quick slant right. The equation of that is underscore 4 quick, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what that was.
I liked it.
But
I think Jack, I think you can't win the Super Bowl with Jared Goff this year. That's my view. So I think they're going to have to get rid of him eventually. But do you think they can win?
For the Super Bowl? But are they going for the Super Bowl? I don't know. I think Dan Campbell has been questioned at every turn that he's taken, and so far he's producing a fairly decent football team that has some kind of identity. The Detroit Lions were out in the wilderness for years. But at least there's something there. I also have a sneaky feeling that Jack Campbell might be a Defensive Player of the Year rookie candidate. He kind of exudes what Dan Campbell wants in the middle of that defense. Gibbs was weird. I love Laporta. I really like Brian Branch as well. Hendon Hooker, again, I would have preferred him over maybe someone that we took, but I like him. I like watching him. And let's not sleep on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he could be the next big thing at wide receiver.
Great slot receiver.
He is fantastic to watch. They got weapons. They're fun. Have you got us beating them, Alistair?
Let me speak on behalf, as I like to do, the analytics community, because this is a fun thing. When you look at a team that uses pick 12 on a running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then pick whatever it was, 18 on a linebacker, Jack Campbell, you look at the first 4 players they selected, and it looks pretty good because they ended up with Laporta and Branch in the second round, right? Yeah. But if you think about who they could have got instead of Gibbs and Campbell and look where their weaknesses are, Jahmyr Gibbs could be someone like Van Ness or Will McDonald to help out the pass rush, and Jack Campbell could be Quentin Johnston or Smith-Njigba to help out Amon-Ra St. Brown, because all they've got is Marvin Jones and Josh Reynolds next to him. So I just...
Yeah, but they had Jamison Williams. Like, they had Jamison
Yeah.
Williams before, so you can't say that.
I don't know. I just think there were positions, like higher value positions they could have taken there. Yes, they're good players. Have they missed a trick again? We'll find out. But Jack, to answer your question, the circuitous route I like to take, I have the Chargers winning by between 1 and 6 points at home against the Detroit Lions in week 6. It's another W to the Bolts.
Yeah, me too. I really want to see how these 2 first-round picks of theirs pan out. I'll take the Bolts. Yep.
Just to be clear, love the players. They're good. Like Gibbs and Jack Campbell, hella fun. We liked them. So it's nothing against the players. It's about were they taken in the right spot.
They've done a fair bit. Sorry, they've done a fair bit to improve their offense, which was 28th or 29th overall last year. Adding veteran cornerbacks and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as well in the slot. It could be pretty fun. I have us winning by within a score at home.
The headline in the morning will read thus: New King of the Jungle. Herbert roars into MVP form because we have them at home in week 10 in the middle of the season. So I think this might be the game where Herbert goes, thank you very much. I'm in contention for MVP, and we win the game by a touchdown or more.
Nice. All right, I'm going to jump in with the Minnesota Vikings. 13-4 regular season last year. Won the division, the NFC North. Fell victim to the Daboll Bulldozer and Danny Dimes-led Giants, 31-24 on wildcard weekend. Bit of a surprise to all the NFL there. Another shot goes begging for a Vikings team that, look, it can be summarised simply by that 13-4 record with the fact that they had a negative point differential. I think they were 11-0 in games decided by 8 points or less, one score. And a real kind of sour way to finish that season last year. They've lost experience, leadership, familiarity on both sides of the ball. Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr., Dalvin Cook, disappointing for them, where their run game really couldn't afford to sort of fall off any further. Eric Kendricks, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Patrick Peterson on defense. Big changing of the guard. Ed Donatel and Mike Zimmer out. And from Miami via Pittsburgh, Brian Flores finds himself in the defensive coordinator role, running his aggressive base 3-4 under front. A vast contrast to the defensive hold, really, under Zimmer. Holding fast, being accountable. Flores has spoken about how he wants to attack and make his players fly around and always busy, always got a job to do. Does he have the youthful exuberance required from his men? They've brought in Marcus Davenport, offers agility and suitable run-stopping ability. Dean Lowry, probably a handy pass rusher at best. They picked him up from Green Bay. And I've read from various Vikings outlets during my research on this team that the return of former first-round pick Lewis Sine will be very special to this defensive unit. Apparently he's already flourishing under Flores, which could allow Harrison Smith in that safety role, which could allow Harrison Smith to play a more natural position up in the box as a blitzing threat. Even with the addition of Byron Murphy, I think their cornerback room looks a little bit bare, and there could be a fair bit of reliance on second-year Andrew Booth Jr. and second-rounder from 2023, Mekhi Blackman. But yeah, look, we'll see. Like I said, losing Dalvin Cook, 1,100 yards, 8 TDs, might be a big hit on their offense. Relying on Cousins dominating, they've still got very, very good weapons in the wide receiver room. Adding Jordan Addison to that. But like I said, some stage when you have all these close games, the tides have got to turn and perhaps just won't fall their way too much. Al, how do you see their season going this coming year compared to how it did last year? Do you see a difference in that record?
I think you're right. I think variance will get them. I think the differential really tells the story. They got a la Collingwood last year a bit for the Aussie listeners. You're winning a lot of close games. Their test will be, can they repeat it and show it wasn't a fluke? Tell you what, Flores is going to need to make some chicken salad out of chicken shit here, because that is a pitiful front seven. If you look at Daniil Hunter is their best player. He had 12 sacks last year, but the Vikings are apparently fielding trade calls for him as well. He held out of minicamp. So this is a major transition year, I see, that you can, as you just spoke about, Andy, they've offloaded all of their vets. We're the beneficiary with Kendricks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's good. It says that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, their GM, and you know, you've got Kevin O'Connell, who has a lot of capital, brand capital. They're saying, look, last year I think we got a bit lucky. Kirk Cousins is probably going to be offloaded next season. Let's see what we can do this year, but we're trying to transition. And Kwesi called it a competitive rebuild at a recent interview. So I think they know where things are lying at the minute, and I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped off a bit from last year. Hey, Jack?
Fantastic corporate speak there. Competitive rebuild. To make sure that they don't get fined for dropping games. I think this is going to be a exercise in stopping players named Jay. Because if you look at their wide receiver room, find me another wide receiver room that has more J's in it. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, and KJ Osborne.
TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver,
TJ
Johnny Hunt
Hawkinson.
in the tight end room. Mate,
Ludicrous.
You're onto something.
Josh
mate.
Oliver, Johnny Munt, they're bloody everywhere. So, but let's be honest, it's going to be week 3. It's going to be the Jordan Addison versus Quinton Johnson Bowl. That's what it's going to be. Who's going to make more of an impact? And you'd argue perhaps that, you know, Jordan Addison might be second in line there behind Jefferson. Jalen Reagor's never really done much.
Fair bit of good chat about Jalen Reagor and Jalen Naylor so far through training camp. So who knows? KJ Osborne, I think, is a really underrated slot receiver too.
He's quick too as well. I mean, it's a quick receiver room, so it's going to be interesting to see how they try and dice up Staley's defense. But I guess I'll go to the morning after news report, and I have it as Jefferson hits big, but Cousins can't think quick. I think it goes down to the wire, and Cousins has the ball at the end of the game, but throws a dire interception to lose the game for the Vikings. I think we win.
Who picks it off?
3 points. Aloha Gilman.
Oh. Thinking after all the smoke you've blown up at Asante Samuel might have been the benefactor.
Yeah.
Like you've got the first round wide receiver battle. I've actually got the linebacker swap grudge match. Troy Reader to Minnesota, Eric Kendricks to the Chargers.
Like that. Yeah.
More writing on this for the legacy and pride of Kendricks, generally considered to have or been labelled as falling off the perch a bit last year and to be a shadow of his former self. So time to prove his old purple people eaters wrong. For Troy, let's see if he can sniff the field, then maybe we'll come back to this. And I'm looking forward, to, like I said, to Lewis Sign. Missed his rookie year with a broken leg, so kind of a rated rook for mine this year.
Yeah, he's good, Scene. Yeah.
I've got the Chargers winning this one. I think we'll be able to get this done pretty comfortably, I think.
Yeah, I think it will be a no pain, no gain kind of setup where we'll have to survive some blows in 11 personnel. Jefferson had 9 catches for 143 when we played them a couple of years ago. Might have to let him off the leash and just find a way to win anyway. Chargers by between 1 and 6 points from me.
Cool. All right, Ali boy. Jack, have you given your prediction? Yeah, win there?
Yeah, just I think, within 3 points.
Do you want to round us out with the Green Bay Packers?
Yes, I do, mate. And Aaron Rodgers leaves town just saying, now the end is near. And so I face the final curtain. Jack waving him off as he goes, fuck off, Rodgers, says Jack. But this is the first time since 1993 that Packers fans, Dan included, Andy, they've headed into a season without either Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. That's up to, 30 years. So
30 years.
Rodgers takes Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Adrian Amos with him. They all go, see you later. We're heading off to the Big Apple. And the question is kind of what remains. And it's a massive show of faith, although it could have been more. They didn't give him a big extension. They just kind of tweaked it a bit to make him happy. But they look at Jordan Love, a 24-year-old quarterback who was a first-round pick in 2020, so still young. But what are they basing it off? 91 NFL dropbacks he's had. And listeners will recall he had that pretty terrible start against Kansas City in 2021 on Thursday Night Football, where it looked like he'd almost never played the sport before. But then last year, I think what has whet the appetite for Packers fans is he came on when Rodgers hurt himself against Philadelphia in Week 12, and he had 9 dropbacks, and he looked good. He looked really good. Went back and had a look at those. He's reading coverages, showing off his arm talent. He throws one to Christian Watson on a crosser, 70-yard touchdown. And that, I reckon that would have played a role, that and obviously what he's doing behind the scenes, for them to say, okay, now's time to have a look. We spent a first-round pick on this dude. He's sat for 2 seasons. Let's see what we've got. So that's really going to be the focal point and determinative of how this team goes. A question for you this time, Big Jack. How do you think this team will structure themselves under Jordan Love? Because you've got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, who between them had, 18 or 1900 rush yards last year. Are we going to see a reversion to, the run to daylight Vince Lombardi Packers of the 1960s? Or with this kind of plethora of young receivers, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, are we going to let Jordan Love air the ball out? What's LaFleur going to do?
No, I don't think he's going to be airing the ball out, because if you look at their draft strategy, they've gone Luke Musgrave and they've gone Tucker Kraft at tight end. That tells me that they want short yardage gainers anywhere between those medium routes, so anywhere between 5 to 15 yards. Christian Watson is a fantastic route runner. He's speedy as well, so he's kind of in that wide receiver 1. Dobbs is a decent route runner. And as you said, Jay Reed, is quite handy in the slot. So I think it might be more of a choose the best route or choose the best option, because I think both Musgrave and Kraft will start to see a lot of them in 2 tight end sets early on. Jordan Love, I don't know what he's going to be. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, their line still looks good with Bakhtiari, Jenkins, and we've got one of my guys, Zach Tom, who's holding down right tackle there. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, but I think it's going to be more of a controlled offense. Run the ball with Aaron Jones. Let Jordan Love make easy decisions. What say you, Andy? What do you reckon?
I think that last little bit is exactly what I think is. They've brought in 2 big, Luke Musgrave in particular, big-bodied tight ends to just add a little bit of camouflage to the blending of the pass and the run game. They've still got a great line that's more than capable of protecting and looking after Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. And then they've got some firepower in the wide receiver room as well. So they've got options to do a bunch of different things and just sort of see what kind of works for Jordan Love and how he's going to really grow into and have this offense grow around him. I'm really interested to see. I can't quite put my finger exactly on it because I don't know where Jordan Love's precise strengths lie and what kind of system he's going to be able to really flourish in. But I think they've drafted pretty smart, and it's sort of a competitive rebuild in itself as well, because got rid of a bunch of guys when Rodgers left. It's out with the old, and now the wide receiver room is all incredibly young. It's a changing of the guard.
Let's flip the conversation to the defense, because this is something
I can tell you that's where I was going to go, because they are loaded on defense.
Okay, you go off then. Sound off, Jack.
Kenny Clark, gun. I love him. He is a big man. Devontae Wyatt, big man. TJ Slayton, don't know too much. Lucas Van Ness, the new Clay Matthews. That's who Lucas Van Ness is going to be. Don't know you.
Lucas Van Ness.
You've still got Preston Smith. You've got Devondre Campbell, who led the league in tackles, I believe, last year, or was very high.
Rashawn Gary.
Key Walker, Jair Alexander, who's one of my favourite cornerbacks. Rasul Douglas. This team is loaded on defense. This is going to be a hard one. I think Herbert's going to see a lot of pressure from the middle and up the guts. I think this is going to be a good defense. I think
But,
this will be
Jack,
this will be a top five defense in my mind.
Interesting, great segue, because that's what I predicted last year on our preseason predictions. I said this defense is going to be excellent, and there's no more hated person in Green Bay than defensive coordinator Joe Barry, because that team were the fifth highest blitzing team, but had the sixth fewest sacks. And Chargers listeners, this is something to take note of, because Joe Barry runs our defense. He runs the Fangio scheme. And let's talk about it quickly, because there's a real question about whether this scheme is the best scheme now in the NFL. So what does this scheme do? It is a 3-4 scheme generally. You have 3 down linemen, 2 edges who come up. They believe in light boxes, because their primary strategy is we want to stop the pass, limit explosives. On the back end, they like to play quarters coverage, 4 deep, or cover 6, which is a hybrid, meaning you've got kind of cover 2 to one side and cover 3 to the other. So it's almost like you're bracketing a good wide receiver, because you can have your 2 deep on that side of the field to bracket the best receiver. They rotate the safeties pre and post snap. So it's all about confuse the quarterback, give him one look, and then change it post snap. This had a lot of success early on against some quarterbacks like Mahomes and Josh Allen, who like to push the ball deep, because they'd see one thing pre-snap and then there'd be a switch or a change. It's complex and they'd throw it. But 2 years later, it seems like offenses have worked out that these cover 4, cover 6 defenses, they've got a lot of weaknesses, short passes, curl flats. If you're patient, you can just move the ball. And because they don't have people in the box, you can run the ball with impunity and pick up 5-6 yards at a time. And the other thing is, all this disguise that makes things difficult for quarterbacks, it's also difficult for the defenders. So they pride themselves on no explosives, but some of these defenses are actually giving them up. And the Chargers are a great example. It's so complicated. You look at Nas Adderley or Loie Gilman, and they've given up their 70-yard touchdown, and they can't stop the run. So, look, you'd think after I've just launched and given a diatribe like that, I'd say the defense is hopeless. I'm not sure, because Staley tweaks it, but the accusation from Packers fans is that Barry doesn't. He's so stuck and he's doing the same stuff, and the defense is getting shredded last year.
It's interesting you say that, obviously Joe Barry is a Fangio acolyte, but that he blitzed as much, because Fangio's defenses don't tend to blitz. They rely on the right guys in that front 7 to do their job and not send more than 5 blitz, essentially, because you want the guys in the backfield not giving up those explosive plays. So they've got the bodies. They've got the guys in that group of, 7 or 8.
Just imagine if Flores or someone like Belichick had that defensive roster. I think that's what Packers fans would say. Like, can this guy get the best out of them? We'll see.
They're probably more likely to, give up less, sending less. That's a weird one for mine, for how he runs his Fangio defense. Hopeless blitzing is almost the unspoken antithesis of the Fangio defense. All right, what do you reckon, Al? Where does this
Chargers
Chargers
getting up. We're going to win it. I've gone 4 from 4 for the NFC North. But I'm with Jack. I think it won't be that easy, because this one's in Green Bay. Don't play there that often. So I think that we win by less than a touchdown.
Yeah, I'd say field goal as well for mine. But I've gone 4-0 for the Chargers as well in the NFC North.
And as have I. And the morning's headline's going to be no love lost. Staley's defense bamboozles young Green Bay quarterback. And I reckon Love throws for 2 INTs. And we win by just under a touchdown, I'd suggest.
Awesome.
Right on. Anything further, gentlemen?
Well, look, Jack, I'm very impressed at how you've kind of slid back into the non-hosting role, because I know you're an English teacher, and I've been thinking about a bit of Richard of Gloucester, Shakespeare. Wants to be King of England, and then murders his brothers and nephews in any opposition to get there and become King Richard III. So I can see you plodding away, but I was very happy to have Andy back, who had a lovely time at Lake Blair and other places in Europe. So it's good to have you back, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back, guys. And it's awesome to be back in the studio talking Chargers football. Guys, be sure to join us on part 2 of the opponent series as we focus on the AFC East and the battle of that division. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast.
Bye.
Back pedals looking, firing, he's got Floyd turning, got it, zigzag, 10, 5, high step, touchdown, San Diego!
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!